And I'm gonna record.
Hey, Aliki, I think that we're live.
Are we? I
think
couldn't
we
tell
are.
because your background isn't very celebratory.
I know my computer it can't handle it. I
Yeah.
apologize. This is my work laptop.
I don't believe it. I think your work laptop can handle it, Jonathan.
I think
You're underestimating your work laptop.
Like smoke will come out of it and fires will happen. So I'm very self-conscious about that.
Right.
But let me tell you something that I am so excited to be here with you today. Do you know that? Do you know why?
I have no idea.
I know why.
I have no idea.
Because right behind you, happy 5th birthday, FCV. Today's a special day.
Yeah. Well, it's actually all month, right? It's their special month.
It's the day the DBA came in. That's important. It's an important thing, Aliki. Listen, 5 years is monumental. I remember my son's 5th birthday, and that was a huge deal for us. I remember my 5th birthday, big deal for me personally. And honestly, I am delighted to be here with you today to talk about this. And I'm happy that we have our friends and some of our supporters on Facebook who are joining us to follow along. We're going to have a fun little half an hour to an hour here to talk about some of the work we do and why we think it's so important and some of the things that we can do to support the conservation voter movement here in Florida. Yeah. Alika, do you want to like kind of kick us off here a little bit? What people can expect?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like in these Zoom times, we're all getting super creative with celebrating things like our birthday. So I, like you, am very excited to welcome everybody today to celebrate our virtual birthday party. FCV is 5 years old, Florida Conservation Voters, that is. And so I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Aliki Moncrief. I'm the Executive Director of Florida Conservation Voters. And here I am with Deputy Director Jonathan Weber.
That's me. I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Excellent. Well, so we are on Zoom and we're on Facebook Live. Like you said, we're going to talk a little bit about where we've been, where we're going. And we actually have a couple of fun games up our sleeve, right?
Games?
Yeah, we have some games. I've been wanting to do online games for like more than 5 years, Jonathan, and you laugh at me every time I want to do an online game.
It's not that I laugh. I think it's great. I'm excited. I think it's going to work this time. It's going to work because I'm almost positive. It's going to be fun. You use it's Menti, it's called, right? Menti?
Yeah, except what do you mean this time? I've used it before and it has worked before.
It has worked before. I agree. It had. I missed out. I wasn't there when the time you told me it worked. When you did it, when you did Menti, because what we're going to use. You did it in a presentation one time as well, right?
I've done it in a presentation a few times. Yes, you're just never there for it, Jonathan. You're just never there. Anywho,
I'm excited.
You want to know what's at the top of my birthday wish list? I mean, I know you didn't ask, but I want to tell you what's at the top of my birthday wish list because it's my birthday, our birthday. It's actually not my birthday, it's our birthday.
Tell me.
So I want more people to register to vote and join the conservation voter movement. And so for anybody who's watching right now, I totally cannot tell how many people or who is watching, but if you are watching,
millions.
I don't know about that. If you're watching, please invite 5 of your friends to watch this video live on Facebook with you. There are a couple of ways to do it. You can launch a watch party, or you can just click on the invite button somewhere down in the Facebook Live video comment area. I've actually never done a watch party, but I'm hoping people will do that.
I did it one time for one of our videos, actually. It was one of the ones that we released about Land and Water Conservation Fund and Florida Forever. And I thought it was kind of a neat little feature. I mean, I know, listen, Facebook has its problems and blah, 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 whatever. But like, this was kind of a neat little feature I liked. And I did it, my friends joined and we watched together. We could like comment along and it's fun. It's fun.
And I like the icon. It's a little popcorn bucket. What could possibly be bad about that? Other than...
Hey, quick aside real quick, while we're waiting for people to invite their friends, I can tell you something. So you know the bean club I'm a part of? I'm not going to say the name because I don't want to promote any businesses, but I like these beans,
Yes. Heirloom beans.
I also get heirloom popcorn.
Really?
Yeah, heirloom popcorn. Yeah. Wow. It's like a little bit more dense and chewy, but in the best possible way.
Okay. All right. Well, maybe you'll share your super secret heirloom popcorn company with me someday.
I'm sorry you're not in the club.
I think I've paid my dues, Jonathan.
It's like a secret society. You need a password to get in. It's like Eyes Wide Shut. It's like that. You can't get in. Yeah.
Oh Lord. Well, aside from learning more about John's crazy bean and popcorn clubs, I want to start off, or we're actually not starting. Now that we're at this phase of our little conversation here, I would love to get a little bit more information, learn a little bit about folks who are watching. Carson, you can let me know if you think I should wait. Otherwise, I'm going to hit go on our first little, it's not really a quiz. It's more of like a interactive little doodad.
So real quick, how do people play along? What do they do here?
Okay, so here's how they play along. You can either go to menti.com and enter the code 810131, or you can, I'm going to copy a link and I'm going to drop it in the chat box. Let's see if I can find it. Here's the direct link to the poll. So people can either click on the menti.com link that I just dropped in, or they can go to menti.com, which I'm typing in, and use the passcode 810131. All right. So if folks are landing there, I'm going to show my screen and we will see if people are in there interacting. I've kind of like shrunken down my screen, so I got to navigate a couple weird little boxes here. So can you see that, Jonathan?
Yep.
Awesome. Okay. So if people go to this link, they can share what environmental issue they care most about. I'm really kind of interested. I think there's so many important environmental issues that are coming to a head, you know, right now and often in Florida. Water is definitely one of them. I can see someone added a water entry. That's obviously a super important issue. But let's keep going while people, climate change for sure. Prescribed fire management. Florida is known for our prescribed fire management. Cool. What else, folks?
This is fun. I like this coming in like this.
Yeah, right? It's interactive. It's on another screen of mine. So every time a word pops up, I'm kind of like, woo, what's going on over there? So let's, I can keep this up and keep it open. We can post it again. And then folks can, as they get on, I know with these Facebook Lives, people come on and off. But so far it looks like the one that everyone has in common, or most people have in common, is climate change, climate. What do you think about that, Jonathan?
I think that makes perfect sense. And yeah, well, I mean, of course I agree. But I think that, you know, when we like field comments from the general public or whatever, or from our members, climate change is always one of the top 2 or 3 issues, if not number 1, in certain times, like of the issues that we hear about constantly from members is climate change and what the state is doing, what local counties and local municipalities are doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know what? Sure. I think that if you leave this up though, they can't see your face or my face, I think is what
is that true?
Yeah. So we can take it down. Maybe
I'll come back to it. We'll come back to it.
Here.
Okay.
Good. Cool. So that is great. And I love seeing all these different people put in the issues that matter to them. Here at FCV, we do kind of focus on 4 key issues that Floridians care about. The first one being climate change. We just talked about it. We lump our climate change and clean energy policy into one kind of bucket that we focus on, pillar, we're going to call it. We also focus on land conservation. As many of you know, FCV, we got our start from out of the 2014 Water and Land Conservation Amendment, which was wildly successful, passing with 75% of the vote. And of course, the reason for that existing was to make sure that there was enough funding to do things like acquire new parks, manage the parks when they're bought, prescribe burns, just like someone mentioned earlier on your poll, and to restore the Everglades, things like that. So growing out of that, land conservation really is core to who we are, and certainly a very passionate issue for a lot of Floridians, because a lot of us have favorite memories from parks, and a lot of those parks were acquired with Florida River land, so Florida River money. So it's important to us that way. A third area is water. Now, water and land are like tied together. They couldn't be more tied together in a lot of ways. So we do oftentimes wind up talking about land conservation and water quality and quantity in the same kind of breath, although they are separate issues. Certainly at the Capitol, when we're working on legislative lobbying, they are separate issues a lot of the time. So we have to make sure that we are giving both areas like the attention that they deserve without losing focus of like, yeah, in Florida, you have to have a good land management strategy in order to ensure clean water going forward, right? It has to be part of the equation somewhere.
Well, water and land are so incredibly interconnected, right? Like
in this state.
What is it? Oh, well, yeah, I'm only talking about Florida.
Yeah, it's important. It's really important. And then the fourth pillar that we hang our hat on here at FCV is our democracy pillar, which includes good government in general, making sure that people have access to comment to voters. So voters can access their elected officials. We also have voting rights, ballot access, the constitutional amendment process, all these things that make our society work, that make our constitutional democratic republic function healthy and properly. We want to make sure that those things are taken care of and that the state is giving the respect that those issues deserve to make sure that everyone's voice matters in our great state, right? So that is really a key part of the conservation voter movement. Sometimes we get questions, Aliki, that's like, hey, what is an environmental organization working on voting access for? And I love your answer that you've always said to me when I first got hired. And I'll just tell you what you said to me. You said was, voting's in our name. Like, it's voters, not conservation voters. So I love that you said that because it really does sum it up, is that like we are.
I don't remember saying that for the record, but.
Voters is in the name.
I believe you. I believe you. I'm just saying I don't remember that moment. Thank you for bringing it back to me.
I love it. And so I use it anytime I get that question, which is honestly more often than you'd think, is well, voters is in our name. And we do believe that when more people have access to the ballot, we want to make that our environment wins. Like we believe that. And of course, everyone should have a say in how their environment, Florida's environment belongs to all of us, and we should all have a say in how it's being taken care of or not taken care of. So those are the four kind of pillars: land conservation, water, climate change and clean energy, and democracy issues, which is a big bucket. But those are the issues we work in.
That's a lot. And definitely in the last 5 years, there are a lot of special interests, whether it's developers, road builders, climate deniers. Unfortunately, too many politicians who choose polluter profits over people. We've had our share of going up against folks who are moving bad environmental policies forward in Florida. But we're, because of our volunteers, our members, our donors, we are able to take them on at the Capitol. And we're able to build power from the ground up to make sure that our lawmakers are standing up for what people really care about. And I don't think there's a Floridian around who doesn't care about clean water and clean air and access to clean, affordable energy and access to the ballot. Everybody wants to have their voice, right? So that's it. It's 5 years has flown by. There's no doubt.
It's been a wild ride, Aliki, and I am pleased to say that I've been part of this ride since the beginning, I would say, because I was there before I was hired by FCV, I was definitely involved with the organization, and I've been watching your growth and success over the years. And to kind of watch the organization that you built has been inspiring in a lot of ways, and certainly it's been a wonderful addition to my life, which is being part of FCV. But again, it really was just, why don't you tell us a little bit about like your beginnings? I was hired 4 years ago, but there was a time before me. Tell us about that.
It was such a brief window, Jonathan. Well, really, when we, after the Water and Land Conservation Amendment in 2014, the conservation community had created an advocacy organization to make sure that the state of Florida was spending money on our critical water and land conservation needs. And so when that campaign succeeded with 75% of the vote, there was a big question mark about, well, where do we go from here? We just saw the environmental community flex its political muscle to an extent, right? Because constitutional amendments, that decision is made at the ballot box. And so that is an expression of political power that people have. And so after seeing that, it was sort of an obvious decision to transform the organization into Florida conservation voters, broaden the mission beyond constitutional amendments to make sure that we're electing pro-environment candidates, broaden the mission not only to address land and water conservation, which are so critical for Florida, but which are obviously not completely holistically covering all of the environmental issues, climate change being really important, and then obviously democracy issues. So we did get started as a constitutional amendment campaign. After the campaign, we were down, or, during some of that, there was a phase when it was just Laura and I. So it was a 2-woman show. And we saw collectively with partners in the conservation community that there really weren't organizations that were investing a lot of time and resources into elections. And so one of our core values is that we really get involved in places where we're going to be value added. We don't want to reinvent the wheel. We don't want to do things that others are already doing really well. And what we saw was that the environmental community wasn't getting political enough to really win in the Capitol. So anyway, that's why we got started. And I'm super excited that we're still here 5 years later and we're getting stronger.
We've grown.
Yeah, we've grown. And so, we'd love to, I think you and I should bring on some of our new staff members who've come on the team.
I agree.
2015.
So first up to talk today a little bit, we're going to try to talk about each of the pillars a little bit and the work we're doing there. But first up to talk about Florida's land and water is Government Relations Director Lindsay Cross. Lindsay, of course, is one of our favorite people in the conservation voter movement. And here she is. Lindsay, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, Lindsay.
Hi there. Hi, Jonathan. Hi, Aliki. How are you?
Good. How are you doing today?
Good. So I know this is a celebration. So I have a special blueberry mojito kombucha that I just tapped specially for today. So I literally just took it out of the second round of fermentation. This is a new thing. So people have been in this baking kind of frenzy. Aliki, I know that you're making sourdough like it's no one's business, like you're going to open up a bakery on the side, and Jonathan's got his beans. Well, I was like, they've got the baking and the beans. I need something. So I've got my kombucha. So this is my blueberry mojito kombucha with fresh mint from my garden. It's about the only thing I can grow, but cheers to FCV.
Cheers. That's awesome.
Thank you so much.
Virtual
really
cheers.
Love it.
It's pretty good. Probiotics, good for your belly.
Nice. Yeah. So it's a healthy toast.
It is healthy. It's healthy. So I'm thrilled to be part of the team. I think it's been about 1.5 years since I've been with you guys. And I remember before I was working for FCV, I gave you guys some input on your your legislative briefing book about land and wildlife corridor protection. And I remember thinking like, this is such a cool group. I would love to work for them. And now here we are.
That's awesome.
Yeah, year 5. So I'm thrilled that I get to work on a whole host of things with our elected leaders and really making them accountable to not only our natural environment in Florida, but all of the Floridians that really make this place as special as it is. And land and water conservation is my love. It's something that I've been engaged in for a nearly 20-year career. So working in kind of the water policy and restoration field for about 15 years with really a focus on Tampa Bay and estuaries. I'm excited for us to expand into some more of the water sphere this year. Mm-hmm. And really what I see with so many of the programs, whether it's land or water or climate or democracy, is there's not a place where one starts and the other ends, and they are all interwoven with each other. And so when, we look at this GEMS book right here, the Zoom background, our GEMS book, this is something that I'm incredibly proud of. I know that we worked really hard on staff to develop last year, really highlighting some of our conservation gems in the state and places that have not been protected yet. This is really Amendment 1, the Water and Land Legacy Amendment, the Land Acquisition Trust Fund. This is your work in action. And this is the way we not only celebrate what Amendment 1 and programs like Florida Forever have been able to do for us, but all of the work that is yet to be accomplished. And I personally was able to deliver dozens and dozens of these reports up to legislators in Tallahassee last year. So every legislator got a copy of this. They'll tell you, oh, I didn't get a copy, but We hand delivered a copy to every single one of them, every single representative and senator. And I also had the opportunity to sit down with so many of them and talk about projects that might have been right in their district. So, you know, talking about something in, you know, around the Ocala National Forest with folks up in Northeast Florida. It's so powerful to show an example of this project, and with the right amount of funding, these are some of these incredible things that we can do. So we were able to, in a what turned out to be a really tough budget year because of the pandemic, $100 million for Florida Forever stayed in the budget. And it is so important to highlight those wins. And it really comes down to you all in the conservation movement for doing that. There were a lot of projects that got vetoed, that got cut, more than $1 billion. This stayed in the budget.
Right.
And there was pressure throughout the entire legislative session and the prior years where you all made this an issue for your elected officials. And this document helped for any of you that purchased a GEMS book, a buy one, give one to your legislator. That helped tremendously. And before the last week of session, when the budget committees, you know, spend all weekend hashing out the details, I was able to be there when Representative Roshine from the Keys area, who is the chair of the Environmental and Natural Resources budget, announced that the Florida Forever programs would get $100 million. And she looked out in the audience and she said, so stop the emails, you're getting what you want. And it's because we called on you all to talk about how important it was. You made phone calls, you came up to Tallahassee, you emailed your elected officials, they heard that. That's why that money got put in the budget in the first place and why it has stayed in there. So we know that we can make a difference. One of the big things that we're focusing on right now is the MCORs, the toll roads, because this is an extension of our public lands. These roads, if built, are gonna be bad for our water, our wildlife, our natural areas, our agriculture, our rural communities, and for our taxpayers. So this is a place where you all have stepped up as well. We have a petition right now to DOT where we're asking them to put the brakes on this process during this pandemic. There are priorities that are just so much more important to us right now. The MCOR's budget is rolling through. It's getting bigger and bigger every year. And some new estimates are suggesting that these roads could cost about $27 billion. That's billion with a B. Yeah. So it is up to us as people who value the state and the special things about it to say no build. This is the only acceptable option for these toll roads. So I'm going to be spending the rest of the week attending virtual meetings. I'll be hosting a Facebook Live on Friday at 11 a.m. to give a little recap on that. And you all have been great when we send out an email, when we ask you to fill out a petition, whether that's sending a letter to DOT or to your elected officials. You guys are always right on there doing what needs to be done and making sure that the conservation voter movement is being heard loud and clear up in Tallahassee.
Yep. People often ask, you know, does it make a difference if I send this email? Does it make a difference if I call my state rep? You know, are they really going to listen? And I think, you know, the story that you shared earlier about, you know, $100 million for Florida Forever, one, getting it from the House Appropriations Committee. Holly Rashine's statement was, you know, that was like exhibit A for, yes, these emails and calls absolutely do work. So thanks for your hard work, Lindsay, and enduring what will be 3 days of, like you said, virtual meetings. But you know, these roads are just completely senseless. They were a wrong decision pre-COVID. They're an even worse decision now that we are facing this pandemic in our state. So thanks for joining us. Jonathan, did I interrupt you? Were you trying to chime in?
No, I just wanted to say thank you so much. I mean, I thought, hey, Lindsay, you're such a valuable asset to the conservation community, and your ability to kind of articulate these issues so well, I think is crucial, because communication is the most important part of this whole job, is trying to translate the confusing stuff that happens at the legislature and tell voters and tell citizens what's happening, why it's important, and how they can participate. That's a key thing that you provide. And thank you so much. And I'll say even bigger thank you is to the conservation voters out there who do participate. And, we'll send emails, make phone calls, and exercise your right to petition your government about things that are important to you.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I would love to add one more thing on a public lands perspective, something taking it from the state up to the federal level for a moment, because there's an exciting opportunity that's happening. That sounds like I'm getting ready to sell you something. We have an exciting opportunity for you this week only, but really it is. On Wednesday, there's a bill that is scheduled to be heard on the federal House floor called the Great American Outdoors Act. And if you think about Florida Forever on a state level, something called the Land and Water Conservation Fund is basically Florida Forever on the state level. So what the Great American Outdoors Act does is it would permanently fund this amazing program to protect and water and land on a nationwide scale. And it would also put money into some sorely needed national park infrastructure upgrades. So with the amount of people, visitors that are getting out into our public lands and our parks, it's important that they're safe and that they're accessible for everyone. So the Great American Outdoors Act kind of incorporates the best of those two things. It's being voted on the House floor on Wednesday. And I just dropped in a petition into our chat box. There's also one about the toll roads, but about half of our Florida representatives have co-sponsored that. So we are thankful for those that have. Representatives like Shalala in Newcastle Powell and Representative Christ, who is my representative here in Pinellas County. I want to give a special thank you to them. Representative Murphy. So there's some great people who have stepped up and co-sponsored. This is bipartisan legislation, but about half of our Florida representatives have not.
We lose Lindsay?
Uh-oh. I think we lost Lindsay.
I think you're saying they have
more representatives and ask them to co-sponsor and to vote yes on Wednesday.
Awesome. Well, and I think that action, we have our Take Action Center at fcvoters.org has the link as well to that. And
I'll do a quick shameless plug. We're actually sending an email on this tomorrow morning, I believe, or tomorrow at some point. So everyone should sign up for our emails to make sure you get the latest and greatest breaking engagement opportunities in your inbox. fcvoters.org, and the sign up's right there on the front of the page. You can't miss it. We have an email going out this week.
Yep. Awesome. Thanks, Lindsay.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Happy birthday.
Woohoo!
Right.
So Jonathan, I know you said you wanted to do this Tonight Show style, although that does kind of date you, by the way. I should have mentioned earlier.
The Tonight Show's still on.
Is it? Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. It's a new host. It's because you mentioned Johnny Carson. You threw me off. I was like, that's like from forever ago.
Because I was doing it because he has a sidekick, and I was going to be the sidekick.
I know. Anyways, well, obviously land and water has always been, a core focus for Florida conservation voters. Like I mentioned earlier, we were actually born from the 2014 Water and Land Conservation Amendment. So you want to talk a little bit, you want to segue us into our democracy and voting conversation, Jonathan? Yeah, JSW?
Well, you mentioned the amendment process, and it's kind of a super complicated formula. As you know, I don't have to explain to you how complicated it is to take an idea, turn it into a ballot question, and then have voters approve it and then get it implemented correctly. That is not something that anyone can just do, but we did it, most of it, and it's difficult. Now, but why is it so difficult? And unfortunately, it's been made more difficult the past two legislative sessions, is that it's now much harder and even worse, more expensive, because that's what harder means these days, means more expensive for citizens groups, grassroots, just like ours or whatever in the state, for them to actually gain access to the ballot box to get things passed. So as this process is being stripped away, we want to make sure that we are addressing the democracy pillar in total. So I do want to bring up, actually, you can do the introduction here, but we do have a long road ahead of us, and I have a feeling we're on the right path now that we have the next speaker.
That was like, it's like, oh, the suspense is killing me. Yeah, we are super excited this year because we were able to bring Savana Roach onto the FCV team as our digital organizer. So Savana, if you want to jump in here, we're excited to hear from you about how you're helping voters get ready for the 2020 elections.
Hi, Aliki. Hi, Jonathan.
Hi.
I am so excited to be here. You probably heard me say the word excited like 500 times over the last month. But yeah, so excited to be able to celebrate FCV in this way in our birthday party, even though it's virtual. And God bless technology for allowing us to continue to do our work through this trying times that we're all dealing with. But yeah, I just want to introduce myself. As Aliki said, I'm Savana Roach. I've joined the FCV team on about a month and a half ago, and it has been such an honor and privilege to be able to work with this organization and do such important work that is so extremely relevant right now and very critical. So
yeah,
thank you for having me, not just on this call, but also as part of the team.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, you use the word excited. I use the word excited. We're all super excited to have you on the team. So what about, I mean, like you said, it's thank goodness for technology. It's not a surprise to any of us on the FCV team, your teammates, that you like digital. Obviously, that's like your breakfast, lunch, dinner, digital outreach. So tell us how you are engaging voters online these days.
Well, I can show you actually.
Okay.
One of the main ways we are doing that is through our new tool called FL Voter Info. It is our Make a Plan to Vote website. So FCV has created a Make a Plan to Vote website called flvoterinfo.org, where voters can go to find their one-stop shop for all things elections this election season. So whether you need to check your registration information, make sure that you're signed up before the deadline, or sign up to vote by mail, you can do all of that here. So I'm just going to do a quick little walkthrough of the website, where if you're not sure if you're registered, you can click that and it will just take you through to the relevant places and direct you to your own county's supervisor of elections website. I do also want to note that our website is available in Spanish, so we are making sure that we are reaching out to everyone as much as we can and making sure that no one is forgotten due to a language barrier. So
that's great.
I wanted to highlight this important tool. So we've had a really good turnout with this tool so far, and we hope to see that increase. So I'm going to drop the link to our website for everyone to make their plan to vote. I'm going to drop that into the chat box.
Great. Well, and you mentioned a really important thing about the site, I think, and that is that when people are interacting, they're actually directly interfacing with, in the case of the voter registration piece, with the Division of Elections here in Florida. So their information is going straight onto the Division of Elections voter file. And then when they're interacting with the vote by mail piece, depending on the county that they choose, they are actually interacting with their local supervisor of election. So
that's right.
There's no information that could potentially get lost in translation. It's a easy way to make sure that they're getting their requests fulfilled.
Savana, I want to give you this is a really interesting story. You're going to love this. So one of my most dearest friends in the world, it's a woman named Catherine. She lives down in Miami. She's been a voter her entire life since she turned 18. She's lived in the same house now for, I think, 6 to 8 years. So like multiple cycles. And she's voted in every election, right? She's in Miami. And she clicked on the website that you just showed, and she checked her voter registration status. Turns out she was off the rolls for some crazy reason, right? So luckily she did it, and she was able to use our website to register to vote, to make sure that she could vote in the primary. And it's all because of this website and the work that you're doing to promote on social media, et cetera. So again, I can't thank you enough on behalf of one of my closest friends ever for the information, because we're actually letting people know now. And I mean, it takes effort on their part, but it's easy. As you saw, it's like 2 buttons to find out if you're good to go or you need to do something to fix it. And she's fixed, she's ready to go. Thank you so much for your work, Savana.
Thank you for sharing that story, Jonathan. That really means a lot. It's always good to be reminded that, our work is valued and it's effective. We've gotten some really good feedback on this website so far about how user-friendly it is. So we try to make it as streamlined as possible and as accessible as possible. And it's really good to have that validated and know that it's working. So we're always open to feedback, but we can't get feedback if people don't use the website. So again, everyone go check the link in the comments for the link to this website to make your plan to vote before the deadline.
Very cool.
When's the deadline?
Well, hold on.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Go, Savana.
I'm hinting.
Hint. Well, let's see, is it my turn to share the screen? I can't. Yes. I have like so many windows open. Okay. So
speaking of
deadlines, and along the lines of a reminder, we have a little quiz for you. I think we mentioned early on in the call that we have games. This is one of the games. So exciting. And for people who actually engage with the games, we have these stickers. We have our membership stickers, which, they're actually showing through on the screen pretty well. I'm kind of surprised. Awesome. So first question is, and you'll see it by, you can see what everybody is responding to if you like. Go back to that menti.com link, which Carson can drop it back in the chat. You can either go to the menti.com and use the password 810131, or you can just go to this direct link that I just put in the chat box. I'm stalling because the minute I press go, there's a timer. And so you only have a certain amount of time to answer the question. So let's see here for a second. Oh my gosh, I have so many I don't know how everybody navigates all these windows all the time. It's just
poorly.
It's so much poorly, like I'm doing.
We're all struggling, trust me.
We're all struggling. Well, hopefully everybody can see my screen. We got some more entries, by the way, on environmental issues that are most important to people. Want to mention a couple of new ones here. I think a really important one, the justice for Black, Indigenous, and people of color. We at Florida Conservation Voters strive to make racial justice and equity a core part of all the work we do and all the decisions we make, both in terms of the policies that we are choosing to advocate for, but also in terms of some of the more internal things like hiring and budget decisions, things like that. So more people interacting. That's so awesome. Did you guys see how that did that? That word cloud like moved.
I thought it was dynamic and interactive.
Yes. Okay. I'm going to jump over to the quiz now that everybody can see. Hopefully this will work and you guys won't get blasted with really loud, wonky music. Can you guys hear the music? Can you hear it or are you just pretending?
No, I hear it.
Okay. I was like, that was really good pretending, Savana. Okay, so I'm going to start the quiz. The question has to do with the last day to register to vote for the primary.
I'm so glad. So now we can finally talk about it. Yes, everyone, you're right. Today is the deadline. July 20th is the last day to register to vote in the primary election. Does it mean it's the last day to request your ballot? No, but you have to be registered to vote before you can request your ballot, and make sure your voter information is up to date. If you just moved within your state from a different state, go to your local county's supervisor of elections and make sure it is up to date. And a good way to get there is using flvoterinfo.com, because we will redirect you right there. So yeah, just really wanted to emphasize that, especially if you just moved, because it's so easy to forget, oh, well, I moved, I'm in the same county, I don't have to update anything. You need to update things. I just moved within the same county, but I still had to update my voter registration information. Otherwise, I would have some problems. So highly recommended to go to flvoterinfo.org and update your registration information and share it with your friends, and make sure you get all that in by midnight tonight, because that's the deadline.
Midnight tonight. So like it's only 7 hours away to register to vote in the primary. Well, that is absolutely one of the most important things that we're doing right now. You know, making sure that voters are doing what it takes to have their voice heard this election, whether it's local or county seats, Florida House, Senate. The August 18th primary matters. And that's something I think a lot of times the turnout in the primary isn't as high as the general election. Everybody's kind of got the presidential on their mind. And so like November 3rd, if it's front of mind, August 18th isn't as much. But what's really important, I think, for folks to remember is there are a lot of local elections that are decided by the vote in the primary. So you'll have folks who are elected, like for example, you know, mayors of your city may be chosen in the primary election and not get to the point of having a November election date. So super important. So we have another question along the lines of games. I know Jonathan's like, drum roll, can't wait. And it's around you know, what is the easiest way for voters to actually request their vote by mail ballots? So I'm going to do another screen share here and folks can answer. Oh, you get less time now because I was slower. Awesome. No surprise there, right? Oh my gosh. The one thing about this game show, I will say, is after you guys, oh, I haven't stopped my screen so you can see, the music is like extremely loud in my ears. So it's like, it's borderline disorienting. Anyway.
Oh no.
So thanks for watching me fumble through that. Now Jonathan's never going to let me live it down.
No, that was fun. I like games. I'm a fun guy.
Okay.
I like to have fun.
All right. I'll believe it when I see it, Jonathan.
No fun.
But I'm so glad to see that so many people, the majority, voted for the right answer, which is visit flvoterinfo.org. Option B really cracked me up. Wish upon a star. If only it worked like that.
Yeah, if only. I'd like a lot of things to work like that. That would be great.
Yeah, like we said, it's the best place to go to check your online vote, to check your voter registration, but also to request your mail-in ballot. You know, a key component of being in the conservation voter movement is being able to vote, because it's in the name. You know, so in order to do that, you know, a super easy way is to use that tool. It takes less than 2 minutes to check if your registration is up to date, and if it is, go right ahead and request your ballot, because I mean, it doesn't take that long for you to get it, and as soon as you get it, it really takes away a lot of the responsibility for you to have to show up on election day, because right now in this current pandemic environment, we're trying to leave our houses as little bit as possible. So it is very much recommended to vote by mail as much as you can.
Thanks, Savannah.
Absolutely.
Thank you for all the work that you're doing to engage our members as well. You know, I think it's so important when people, it's one thing to get a piece of mail. It's one thing to see an ad on a, you know, pop up on your Facebook feed or your Twitter stream or whatever. But getting a call from someone you know, asking you, you know, to make sure that you have a plan to vote is so incredibly important. And so the work you're doing to make sure that FCV members are signing up to volunteer and signing up to reach out to their own networks, I think is going to make a huge difference. So thank you.
Thank you for I mean, fostering this work and guiding me through it. And to that end, it is my goal for this election season to contact over 100,000 voters in Florida. And, you know, this is a really big task for just one person. And so thankfully, we've gotten an overwhelming response and volunteers sign up who are helping me make calls and send texts. And for everyone watching, I want to let you know that the window to sign up to volunteer is always open. So
Yes.
please feel free to sign up. I'm going to drop the link to a volunteer sign up form in the chat. And I can't wait to meet all of you.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Savannah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so
Bye.
much. Bye.
All right, John.
Jonathan,
your name is written in front of my face as John, so I'm like, oh, Jonathan. It's Jonathan.
Whatever you want to call me. Just don't call me late for dinner. So we are rapidly running out of time here, Aliki, so I want to move us along. So the next section I want to talk about, a lot goes into healthy communities, especially here during the sad times of the COVID-19 pandemic. From clean air and water to access to clean, efficient energy, Florida needs bold leadership to push us forward. Climate and clean energy are one of FCV's 4 key issue areas, along with water, land, and democracy. As I said before, I'll tell you, it's also a really important issue to me personally. It's one of the reasons I wake up every morning. I'm sure it is for you too, is to know that there are people out there trying to do the right thing so that our kids have a Florida that they can enjoy just like we did growing up.
Absolutely. Well, and there's really no way to achieve healthy communities for Floridians unless we're addressing the biggest challenge of our time, that being climate change. I mean, the biggest acute challenge, I think, obviously, that we're facing in our state and so many states is COVID-19 and, the health pandemic that is just, I almost don't have words for the impacts that it's having. But with that, there's also a climate change crisis that isn't going away. And that's actually, I think, in some ways exacerbating the everyday experience that people are having, even with the COVID-19 crisis. So we don't have Zach Cosner here today. Otherwise, I'd be super excited to use Savannah's word again to introduce him. He's our clean energy and climate advocate. And in just a few weeks, he hasn't been with us long, but he's been working extremely hard on a campaign to address utility disconnections that have started this summer. It's a super important issue. Florida, back in March when Florida started shutting down schools and restaurants, several electric utilities voluntarily committed to time-limited moratoria on cutting people off for being late on their utility bill. So utilities voluntarily said, okay, we're in a crisis. Even if you're unable to pay your utility bill, we're not going to cut off your lights. We're going to, keep your power on so you can have AC. They basically acknowledged that, yes, our customers are having a hard time and gave them that assurance. Unfortunately, now we're in the midst of, the summer. We're in the midst of a climbing pandemic. I mean, the numbers are not getting better in Florida. At the same time, many of these utilities are starting to disconnect people from their power, both municipal utilities and investor-owned utilities. So it's a problem.
Sorry, there's an update here I was looking at on this very issue right now. I don't know if you saw them, but it looks like, so on the shutdown, it does look like tens of thousands of Florida's families' lives are on the line with this issue. And with the flip of a switch, those with health conditions will risk heat stress or dehydration or worse. Some people rely on refrigeration to preserve their medicines, and without it, they could die. My mother was one of those people. For a while, she had medicine that had to stay in the refrigerator. And again, if she lost power, the medicine would have gone bad or spoiled or whatever happens to medicine when you don't refrigerate it. This work is so important.
Well, and we've experienced it, right? When hurricanes have come and because of, natural disaster, people have lost power, people have lost their lives because of it. So there is a growing coalition of organizations all around the state. First step that many of these groups and our partners took was to call on the governor to actually issue a statewide moratorium. Don't let it be a voluntary action by the utilities, but actually make it required, similar to the moratorium that Governor DeSantis issued around evictions and housing, making sure that people didn't lose their homes during this crisis. Unfortunately, so far, he has been silent on this issue of utility disconnections. So what are we doing about it? We've got some really great partners all around the state, and because it's our birthday, and I want to keep up there's a celebratory note, I think, that's important to strike here, and that is that we have some really amazing partners who, from Catalyst Miami, New Florida Majority, Solar United Neighbors, the Clio Institute. There's a long, long list, and it's growing every day, of partners who are calling on elected officials, well, still calling on the governor to issue a statewide moratorium, but also now calling on local elected officials to stand up to their utilities to protect Floridians. Just a week ago, Miami-Dade County Commission, for example, passed a resolution calling on Florida Power and Light to extend the moratorium on disconnections. And so we think that other local governments should be following their lead on this. So we're finding cause to celebrate because we've got some incredible partners who are doing incredible work. Central Florida Jobs with Justice, another great partner in Central Florida, they immediately mobilized to pressure the Orlando Utilities Commission to suspend disconnections on utilities, and they were able to get OUC Mayor Buddy Dyer to the table and really addressing these issues, particularly for low-income families in the OUC service area. So we've got some great partners doing great work and making a real difference in people's lives.
Definitely. And I'll add one thing because we're not running out of time, is that, at the Capitol, I've noticed that over the years, there's been more energy, no pun intended, on climate change and clean energy issues. Certainly our partners and other conservation advocates have been talking about this for a while, but I feel like the chorus is growing. I feel like legislators are listening now more than ever. I feel like legislators who are active on climate are speaking up now more than ever. And I feel like, Florida, we are ready for something big to happen on climate and clean energy. I can feel it. The momentum is building. It's not going to be easy, and it's definitely going to take more conservation voters like you all out there to help build the momentum so we can get to a place where we know, or we have the best chance against climate change for our kids and their kids. And I feel like we're so close right now, and we're going to get there.
We are going to get there. So this has been I can't believe we actually took up almost the entire hour. I thought this was going to fly. And it feels like it's flown, but didn't actually fly. So really, we're so happy to introduce folks to some of our team members, share a little bit by way of our memories and how we got started, our current projects. I'm gonna work on honing my game show skills because I think that's like a super important life skill right now. And all of it is really, all the work we do is only made possible by conservation voters like folks who are watching today. So with it being our 5th birthday, I want to go back to my birthday wish because I do have 2 things on my wish list. And then if we like, we can reshare the link to our word cloud and take a final look at what everybody said as far as what their key environmental issues are. But so on our birthday wish, on our birthday wish list, again, we would love for you to contact 5 of your friends and family and ask them to sign up to vote by mail. You can certainly contact your friends and family on your own. But as Savana mentioned, she has a really ambitious goal of contacting 100,000 Florida voters. And so if you go to fcv.rocks/volunteer2020, you can connect up with Savana. She can help plug you into a really cool tool that we have that helps people engage with their own network and ask your own network to sign up to vote by mail. So that's wish number 1. Contact your friends and family. Ideally, get with Savana on volunteering, because once you contact 5, you're going to want to do it more, and you're going to want to help us get closer to 100,000. So that's wish number 1. Wish number 2 is I would love for everyone to stop and make a contribution to Florida conservation voters. $5 for our birthday, whatever feels meaningful to you right now. The work we do is far from over. We need to make a big difference in this election coming up. So if you go to fcv.rocks/donate now, you can make a contribution to FCV, and it can be, like I said, $5, whatever's meaningful to you. It really helps us keep up the important work that the FCV team is doing. So those are my 2 birthday wishes. And I almost forgot, I have to put my birthday hat on for a second. Do you see my hat? Do you like it? Does it show up with the white background?
You can see it. Yeah.
Oh, good. Here, wait, hold on. But you don't see the candles.
We get the idea. We get it.
All right.
Love it. It's great.
Birthday hat.
Aliki, real quick though, before we close.
Yes. All right.
On behalf of all of FCV staff, I want to thank you personally for your leadership and guidance over the past, 5 years of this movement. I've been with you now for 4, and it's been, some of the best moments of my professional career have been here at FCV, and it's 100% because of you and your leadership, and thank you. And I know you're going to deflect and defer and say it's all of us, it's a movement. Yes, it is, but every movement
takes a village.
It
That's
does.
what I was going to say.
Movements also need leaders, and you are one of them, and I look up to you, and thank you so much for everything you do. And, here's to another 5 years. So everyone, if you have a drink, I have tap water. Love the tap water.
Tap water is the best. We're lucky in Tallahassee. Our tap water is delicious.
We have great tap water. I agree. Anyway, here's to 5 years. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Aliki.
Cheers to 5 years. Cheers. That rhymes, Jonathan.
Love it.
Awesome. So we have had, I'm going to share my screen one last time because we've had some really additional inputs on really important environmental issues for everybody. And I just want to show, like, there is one issue that's kind of front and center, and that is climate change. You can tell just by the size of it. But other folks, water is popping up a few times here. Sea level rise, climate related, obviously. So we will keep up the good work here at FCV on all these issues. Can't thank everyone who took the time this afternoon to celebrate a little bit with us. Thank you so much.
I had one thing real quick. If anyone's in the comments here, because I'll be there in perpetuity. Definitely, we're dropping a link in the Facebook Live, so you can get a free I'm a Conservation Voter sticker as a birthday gift to everyone. So if you've not yet received that, definitely enter your name into the link that's being pasted right now, and we'll make sure you get one. I love it. I have it on my car. I love it. It's one of my favorite stickers we've done. I just think it's clean and simple. How many of them? Anyway, thank you all.
4 of them.
No, I think it's the Conservation Voter sticker, not that one.
Oh, gotcha. All right. Well, we have these 2.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Aliki?
Hey there.
It's Jenny Schaller. My question is, if I have voted by mail before, do I have to tell them I want the absentee ballot today, or